So I finally finished. That was an awful start. So I finally finished Fire Emblem Echoes. I spent a week, a few days. I don't know how many days it was. It. I can't. You know, let's check. It was a week ago. But I think I finished it a few days ago. But I've been collecting my thoughts. I spent around 35 hours onto it. You could easily spend around 50, and then maybe more if you replay it. It is very grindy a game. There is not as many characters as Fates or Awakening. The cast is pretty large still, because towards the end you combine both armies, and they rack up around 24 units, maybe a little bit more. But you start off playing. There's like 6 chapters, I think 5 chapters, and then the first chapter's kind of like dedicated to Ulm, and then the second chapter's dedicated to Celica, and then by chapter 3, 4, and 5, you all work together, and then by 6 they do kind of if you've ever played Sacred Stones towards the end, where you could have both of them. So that's what they did. Obviously, spoilers. I don't think that was too spoilery, but once I'm starting getting into the story, it'll then be more spoilery. So you start off with a bunch of villagers. The way you rank them up is very different to how you usually do it. Usually, you'd get to 20, then rank them up. However, in this game, if you want to do that, you're going to have to grind to get level 20. Unless you upgrade them straight away, then yeah, they won't ever reach level 20. The good thing about it is, I think it rewards replayability. There's a lot of things to reward replayability, like exclusive characters based on paths. You can get different characters and different routes if you do certain different things right. Well, the greatest thing I like about this game is it reminds me of Sacred Stones. They limited the support, which I think is a good thing. Although I would have liked, I'm never against having that support feature, but I feel like in some of the older ones, it might have taken away from the main story. I think this was probably one of the most strongest stories out of all of them. Although I still prefer Awakening, my personal preference. I like the characters better in Awakening. I mean, story is character. The characters make the story. To talk about gameplay. It's obviously it's your typical Fire Emblem, but there were some changes. There was no breakable weapons again, which only happened in Fates, if I can recall. But then they also added in, do you know how they have like these skills that they sometimes use in combat? There's like a chance that yeah, like a chance, but now you can pick between them, and then it costs HP, and magic now costs HP. So, and you can use, I think, Invoke, which was a really helpful ability. There's all these new abilities, like I think Alm has this like cost 16 HP but does this really strong attack. Music spot on. If you want to listen to the soundtrack, go ahead. I think it's on par with Fates and Awakening. Both of them had stunning soundtracks. Characters very solid, very good. I like Celica and Alm. I think a few of them was a bit weak. Mainly on Celica's side, I think Ulm had quite a strong cast. They're not all bad. It's just I feel like Awakening and Fates Fates might not. Fates, maybe the royalty was strong, but not maybe not the supporting cast. It's because some of the cast felt like Awakening characters and the children and stuff. But you know, if you understand what I'm trying to portray, I felt some of the characters were just like, you find them, they join, and then they have a little bit of backstory. Whereas before, I don't know, maybe it's a good thing you don't learn too much about them. But I always like learning a lot about these characters, and that's what Fire Emblem is about, the characters. I feel like some of the characters don't have as much, like, maybe because they have less support, that you get less immersed with the characters. It's certainly interesting to think about, because certainly it adds, but once you also add something, it can also remove something else. So that element, sure, with less support options, sure you have more of an interesting story, but then there's less interesting characters. But either way, the characters are pretty good. I like Saber. I like, I can't remember many of their names, but I like the Bakut as well. He was quite interesting. Yeah, it's not me. was I talking about? In terms of length, I think it's worth it. You can replay it. Yeah, I think the cutscenes were spot on. When I first played it, I was like, wow, they should make this into a small anime. Fire Emblem's perfect for an anime. I don't know why they haven't done it already. Here, I'm hearing they're gonna do like a Star Fox anime, stuff like that. But Fire Emblem needs an anime. But yeah, so should you get this game? I believe yes. Especially if you love Fire Emblem like I do. It's I believe like £1 for an hour, and I got £1 for an hour of this, so it's all good. Like I said, music, gameplay. I don't usually do out of 10, but I think this might be 8.9. Yeah, I'd say an 8.9. Maybe, yeah, 8.9. I would, and in terms of Fates, I think I would give Fates a 9.1, and then Awakening a 9.4. In terms of how I enjoyed them, maybe 9.6 actually for Awakening. They had no axe units actually. That was another off-put thing. There's a few things that is not in it that's a bit odd, but it's definitely an interesting and different Fire Emblem experience, but still feels like a Fire Emblem game. But yeah, this has been my thoughts and a review. I'm just thinking, did I forget anything? I talked about gameplay, music. I talked about characters a little bit. The story is it's quite traditional, pretty straightforward. There is like a plot twist towards the end, but it's you kind of see it coming. By the time you get the royal sword, you're like, yeah, I think I know what this is gonna happen. But yeah, I do recommend the game, and thank you. I'm having my popcorn.